Oh, when I was younger, back in high school, everyone was like, what are we going to do for work? What are we going to do for school? Where are we going to go? What's our next steps after high school? Me, everyone asked me, and I was like, well, it's like, I think I'm going to work. Because, like, college really isn't for me. It's not something that I'm really inspired to go do. I just kind of want to get into the workforce after school and start working and put my life together. Um, and it's weird how life can change. I was getting ready to head into my senior year, and I was actually it's probably about December of my senior year. Um, Things were going good, things were going great. I still didn't have any plans for college. I just wanted to get a job and just start pursuing a career. I didn't think that college was important at the time, but I had a friend of mine who kept spoken into my life. He kept saying that he's like, there's great opportunities out there, and there's you can always get into the automotive field because I always had passion for it, and I loved working on cars. And he was saying, well, he's like, there's a college program that I'm involved in, and they do great, and it's an opportunity, and it's amazing. And at the time, I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, school's extra school on top of high school. I was like, I don't think I really want to do that. But he kept telling me for several times throughout the year. He's a buddy of mine who's a little bit older, and I kind of looked up to him as a brother because he kind of inspired me to do a lot of things. When I hit December of my senior year in 2008, and I had, within a month, there's two bad car accidents that claimed two of my friends' lives. And it really kind of shook me because one of them I sat next to in class all year, and it was just hard, really, to kind of believe it, to get through it, and to understand it. And at the time, I was hoping that was it, that it wasn't going to happen anymore. I was hoping that the worst was over, and I wasn't going to have to go through the emotions and the loss. And as time went on, me and a couple friends raced go-karts on the weekends, and we were out of town at a race on a Sunday morning. We got through the day was going good, we were having fun. I didn't do so good in that race, but we still had a good time. And one of my buddies came up to me at the end of the morning, pretty much, and said, hey, I just got a phone call from so-and-so's dad, and it doesn't sound good. And I just remember thinking, what's going on, what's happening, the kind of mind shift changed. And we listened to the voicemail, and it was really hard to understand. He was in tears, we could tell that, and he was upset, and we weren't really sure what was going on. We then got in the car and drove home. It was about an hour and a half from where we were racing, was about an hour and a half from home. And I just remember that morning when we went there, we were excited and everything was like ready to go, happy, it's going to be a good day. And then after getting that phone call and we were on our way home, it's just everyone was silent the whole hour and a half. No one spoke, no one wanted to talk. We were just trying to get home to figure out what was going on. And then we get home and we call a friend of ours' dad. He'd been involved in some of the racing stuff with us. He'd only been on the track once or twice, but he'd just been a really, really good friend of mine, really close friend. I looked up to him like a brother. He kept encouraging me to go to college when I didn't want to, but we got a phone call from his dad, and or we talked to him, and then after that, he had told us that he had been in a serious accident that night, and we just kind of, everything pulled from our bodies, like the emotions, everything was stripped away. Like what was happy in one moment was gone the next. And what we learned is that he had gotten in an accident, and that he had passed away. It's really hard because when it hits so close to home like that, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to think. You don't know what to say. It doesn't go easy. Um, it's there's really no words that can describe the feeling. Um, as we went through the next couple days visiting with his family, it finally set in. It took a few days to really accept and really understand and to really know that like this did actually happen. I mean, there's always kind of in the back of your mind, there's a state of denial where it's just like, no, that can't be. This can't be what's going on. I just remember that when I thought the worst was over, it like got way worse. And then I sank, and it seemed like life ceased to exist at that point. Someone who's one of my closest friends is gone. A lot of people ask me, they didn't know how to express feelings or emotions toward me, and they asked me what it was like, and I told them, think about that one person that you're really close to, that one person that you see every day, the one person that encourages you, someone that's there for you, that you just have a lot of memories. And I had people be like, okay, and then my next response was, now imagine if that ended today and you never saw him again. And I say that because that's really the only way to really express the sorrow and the hurt and the frustration and just everything that comes with it. I lost 3 people within a matter of 2 months, one of them being one of my best friends who was just uplifting and encouraging. It put me into a state of depression. It got hard to talk. It got hard to want to do anything. It got hard for me to really want to speak to people. I just kept saying, how far is this going to go? I didn't think it was ever going to end. It made it hard for me to want to talk to people. I was afraid to make friends because I was worried I was going to lose them. I was afraid to reach out to people because I was afraid that something was going to happen. Little did I know that one of the greatest things in my life, though, was that moment in time. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to go through, losing someone so close. But at the same time, he kind of opened doors and put steps in place for me to actually accept and go to college, which I did. And he helped get me set up with my first job out of high school, which I was there for about 5 years. And it was just amazing because of these blessings, these things that took place that I didn't think ever would, the things that I denied, that I was just like, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And just these doors that he opened up in my life, even knowing he wasn't there anymore. And it still is hard at times to think about. But I went into depression, I went into sorrow, I went into fear. And it's really hard when something like that happens. It's really hard to want to open up to people, to want to talk to them, to want to really kind of get it out there and get their opinions and their response. Really the only thing I could do was I would help out his family during the day, and I would come home, and then when I was by myself in the midst of the silence, I would cry and I would pray and I would read my Bible because I felt like that was the only thing that was going to get me through this. At the time, it was the only thing I could lean on. I couldn't lean on people. I couldn't talk to people. I just personally struggled with reaching out. And I felt like praying was the only thing I could do because I could get it all out then, without any judgment, without any thought, without any guilt or fear, or with anyone feeling sorry for me. I mean, that was the last thing I wanted. And it was just the only time that I could finally let things go, and I could finally be like, God, I don't have the strength to do this. I don't have the strength to get through this. I need you now. And it was really a blessing because I prayed every day for God to just, if anything, just give me the strength to get up and have the energy to go out the door and continue on. Because it's things like these in life that will stop you, and you don't want to go anywhere, and you don't want to do anything, and you fear, you worry about what is to come. But it was through the grace of God that He gave me the strength to get up each day and to keep going. I felt sorrow. I felt I felt angry. I felt a lot of things for a few years after that. I went into depression. I didn't want to eat. I didn't like food. Didn't taste good. Trying to sleep was hard because my mind was always racing, and there was a lot of nights where I cried myself to sleep. But I held a grudge for a long time because of the guy who hit him during the accident. I blamed him, and I was angry, and I was frustrated. Even though I kept praying to God for my personal feelings and for the strength to get up each day, I had this immense feeling of anger and frustration at why this happened, why this event took place. And it took me a couple years to get through kind of those steps, but I had someone come into my life, a few people actually spent some time with me, and they started telling me about how God loves, and about the things that happen in life are out of our control, but that there's a purpose and a reason, that it's not meant to destroy us, because there's a lot of things in this world that can when certain events like that take place. They told me the biggest thing is learning to forgive, because it's one of the only ways you'll be able to move on. Otherwise, you'd be stuck in the same rut. You'd have these chains bearing down on you, keeping you from going anywhere. Even then, I didn't want to accept it. Even then, I didn't want to let it go. And after a few years, I finally kind of reached out to the person who was involved in the accident. And I didn't really go about the right way, or at first. I was just kind of like, I've held a grudge against you for a long time, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, and a lot of things. But it was all out of my control. It was all out of anyone's control. No one knew the events that took place were going to take place. It happened the way it did. And I reached out and was like, I was like, I've held all these things in, but for what? I'm just damaging the things around me by these feelings. And it took me a few years, but I finally, during that conversation, I was able to tell him at the end that I forgive you, and I'm sorry I've held on to this for so long. And it was the most shocking moment in my life, because it felt like a weight and a burden, and all the anger and all the frustration just ceased to exist. I finally felt like I was breathing fresh air for the first time in a long time. And it's amazing how the opportunities and just the different things that take place, how we're going to react, how we're going to receive it, what we're going to do with it, where are we going to change. And I still am kind of odd even now. It's been quite a few years now, and even now, even though he's been gone, he's made such a difference in my life. Even though I don't get the opportunity to talk to him, even though I don't get the opportunity to hang out or reach out to him, it's made an impact in my life. And even now, years down the road, I've now done things that I never thought I would do. I never thought I'd go to school. I didn't know where I'd be as far as work goes. I didn't think that far ahead at the time. But it's just amazing, and I'm so extremely grateful and thankful to God that He put this close friend in my life, even if it was just for a moment in time. And I was so thankful, and the blessing of understanding that there's a lot of things that will happen in this world, and we can't control it. A lot of people try to. A lot of people say, what if? Well, maybe I could go, maybe if I did this differently, or maybe if I did this differently. There's a lot of times where we're sad, we're frustrated, we blame ourselves, we blame other people. We just look for something else to blame other than just accepting what actually happened and being able to try and take the next step to move forward and continue on with whatever God's plan is in our life. Sometimes there's setbacks. I mean, we're not perfect. We don't handle everything perfect. But I just remember that a lot has changed in my life because of this one single person that God put in my life. And I'm so extremely grateful for that. And I still remember him. I still think about him. Some days it's hard, but it's not over. I know one day I'm going to see him in heaven. I know that God is watching over us. I know God's watching over his family. I know that there's just a point of peace that resides in me now, of understanding that he's in a safe place and that one day I'll get to see him again. But if it wasn't for my belief in God and it wasn't for my trust in Jesus, I would not be able to be standing on my feet today, because when I was at my hardest, when I was at my lowest, when I was at my weakest, I turned to the Bible and I prayed. And at that point in time, that was the only thing that got me through one of the darkest hours in my life. And I'm so extremely grateful for that. And I'm thankful that I had the opportunity that I had with one of my close friends, the time that we had. And I just thank God for every moment. And I can't wait to see what else he does with it.